Welcome to Wall Street Week, the show of record for long-term investing. I'm Anthony Scaramucci.
And I'm Gary Kaminsky. History was made this week. The election of Donald Trump is a political and economic earthquake. And a record number of viewers tuned into Fox Business to witness it.
Donald Trump, with no political experience, has just won the presidency of the United States.
And how did the markets respond to the Donald Trump victory? With an all-time record high.
Will the Trump bull market last? And what will his presidency mean for the markets and the economy? Let's ask GAMCO Investors Chairman and CEO Mario Gabelli. Mario, welcome to the show.
Great to be back and to see you both.
So what were you thinking 2:30 in the morning Wednesday?
Basically, I thought that the notion of a unified government, finally, of the people would work. Number one, reform regulation, handle the issue of taxes, handle the issue of student debt, handle the issue of the military, handle the issue of infrastructure. Simply stated, take fiscal policy and augment monetary policy and really restructure the country.
Did you think, like many, that the market was going to trade off violently? The market was down 800. Well, I called Mr. Trump at 11:47 to say, please put stuff in there related to the market to calm them down. Do you think that worked? Obviously, it did, but why did it work?
Well, I think the Europeans were kind of uncomfortable with Donald Trump as president, so they were selling off. That morning, however, you had certain industries that looked like they would benefit, and that provided some ballast. The financials, because of less regulation, and the American banks were strong, and they would start lending, and tax structure would change, and we would examine the whole notion of the inefficiency of how we were spending money. So I think that started changing.
But, Mario, a lot of very smart investors came on this program, came on the network, and said that the market wanted Hillary Clinton because the market wanted certainty. What was wrong with that thesis?
Well, both of them were the same in the sense that both argued for infrastructure. Both argued with regards to the military being rebuilt. But then beyond that, there was a lot of different changes. And I think the notion of what made America great and what made the stock market important in the last 100 years, 120 years, was simple. A free market system with all the floors, which was being reinforced by this election, the rule of law, which is being reinforced, and meritocracy, and that is everyone in this country can succeed, and if you succeed by hard work and innovation, creative innovation was back, and if you did that, nobody's going to beat the hell out of you, but they would praise you.
So we're ending the week with the markets being decidedly pro-Trump. Do you think that that's a long-term thing, Mario, or you think that this is a short-term?
I don't know how the markets are dealing. I'm a very simple guy. What are the earnings going to look like over the next couple of years, okay? What sectors will do well? What multiple do you put on it? That's a function of interest rates, psychology. Interest rates are going up. The 10-year this morning is 210, 220. So the present value of future stream of earnings, everything else constant, isn't worth as much. On the other side of the coin, we're going to have an increase in the economy, a really good flow. You're going to see how Ryan handles the Ways and Means Committee and how they unify that part of it. And I think the notion of, applauding for ingenuity is going to come back.
We had Wilbur Ross on. Gary and I talked to him last week, and he said, listen, there's not many companies that can grow at 30%, but if the tax plan goes through and you have a 35% corporate tax rate reduced to 15%, then you've got businesses large and small that are going to produce high earnings growth. Will that help the market?
There's no question that there will be some stimulation on a per-share basis. For example, if we're a full cash taxpayer and we earn $100 million and we're paying 35%, we got $65 million after tax. If we can reduce that to a more competitive global and we pay 25, our earnings will go up. But that's a gradual fill-in. What's more important is setting the right tone for regulation. Anthony, for example, Sarbanes-Oxley, after I went public, 3 years later, 2002, we probably have spent $20+ million.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And it's more important, it takes away process.
Right.
Instead of worrying about risk-taking, we worry about checking boxes.
Yeah,
so
people have been saying that President-elect Trump's win is a huge upset. But not here on Wall Street Week. In fact, the bond king Jeffrey Gundlach predicted a Trump win on this show way back in May. Please take a listen.
I actually have been predicting a Trump presidency for months. I was on the Barron's Roundtable back in early January, and they asked a question, who's going to be the next president? And everyone said Hillary Clinton. I said Donald Trump, and, people gasp when you say that.
We talked about on that show.
People were gasping on
We talked
Tuesday
about
night.
on that show that Jeffrey and I had spoken with a group of investors 2 weeks earlier in Los Angeles, and they ridiculed him. They laughed at him when he was making that comment.
I was at a Milken conference event in the Hamptons. People said, hey, how many people here are for Trump? I raised my hand. I think I was the one person out of 60. Mario, did the Trump win surprise you?
Back for a couple of years, we've been very fortunate in our firm. I has an individual by the name of Frank Fahrenkopf. Frank was the head of the Republican National Party in the 80s. He became the head of the Presidential Commission on Debates, he and his Democratic counterpart. And at every one of our mutual fund board meetings, he would come in and point out that politicians were ranked the lowest, even below investment bankers and Wall Street guys. So you knew there was some basic dissent in the streets that was not heard of. There were a lot of missteps by Trump, but on balance, when the voters came to the election, they decided to come out and vote. And this is what makes America and the democracy so great, hopefully a peaceful transition.
Well, Mario, with that, please stick around. Wall Street Week, we'll be right back.